Hi there, my name is Ellen, and we'll be correcting this essay together today. I'm very happy to see that you have purchased an essay correction so that we can help you prepare for IELTS. I understand you've never taken the exam before, but you need it to get into university. So let's see what you wrote today and how we can help you prepare. This is the essay about ex-prisoners, so let's see what you wrote. A number of people that committed a crime and were imprisoned after their release, they have changed and become good citizens. It is argued if those people are the most appropriate ones to guide and teach young people about the risks of leading to a wrong path of crime. This say agrees with the statement because who else will explain better the dangers of it other than those that admitted it? Moreover, the adolescents will trust them better from anyone else. Okay. So there are some things here that are very good. There are some things here that need work, though. So what's good is the general structure, the order of your sentences, the order of your ideas. All of that is fine. Where you have some issues, though, is with your grammar and with your vocabulary, as well as some issues of cohesion. So let's go through this again. This time we'll correct some of the grammar mistakes in the introduction. So you wrote a number of people. A number of people really kind of limits this. So make it a little more general and start instead with some people or many people. It's just a number of people feels kind of limiting, kind of restricting. So many people that committed a crime and were imprisoned this is strange. After their release, they have changed. It's as if you're telling us that while they were in prison, they didn't change, but after they were released, they did. And that doesn't really make sense. So I think you mean something else. Let's try it again. So some people that committed a crime and were imprisoned change and become good citizens. That's really it. Okay? So you don't even have to use this after they're released. You also don't have to use they because all of this is your noun. You already have a noun here, so you don't need they. And then this was a little strange too. It is argued that those people, not if, it is argued that those people are the most appropriate. You don't even need ones here. So it is argued that those people are the most appropriate to guide and teach young people about the risks of yeah, I'm trying to fix the expression here. We don't really say this in English about the risks of entering a life of crime or beginning a life of crime. You could have used an expression like that instead. And then you don't mean this say, you mean this essay, double S, so E-S-S-A-Y. This essay agrees with the statement because who else will explain the dangers of crime? Now, why? Because you've had a lot of nouns here. You've had this statement, you've had crime, you've had essay. So it's a good idea to make it absolutely clear what this it refers to. So this essay agrees with this statement because who else will better explain the danger? Who else will better explain the dangers of crime other than those who commit it? Okay, different word here, not admit, but commit. And then I wouldn't even have included this. You don't need this, not in your introduction. That can go in your body paragraph when you explain the reasons why, okay? So let's move on. Now, in your next sentence, you have another issue as well. You're starting your body paragraph. It's a whole new part of the essay. And so it's a good idea to start your body paragraph off with a clear topic sentence so that your reader understands what the central idea of this paragraph is. So rather than starting off with the main idea for this, again, what does this refer to? It's just not clear starting with a brand new paragraph. I mean, it could refer to any number of sentences, nouns, or even the whole paragraph from the paragraph you just wrote. So let's clear this up a little bit. The main reason in favor of criminals speaking to young people is that the prisoners, and you obviously don't need a comma, is that the prisoners acknowledge their wrongdoings and they can share their experience in prison so they can avoid following the same path. All right, now here it's a little confusing. Again, look, they. Who is they? The only people you've talked about so far is prisoners. Now, I mentioned young people, okay, the main reason why prisoners should speak to young people, okay, but you didn't. And so you have this they can share and then they can avoid. So we just don't know who these are referring to. You have to be careful. Let's try it one more time. The main reason why prisoners should speak to young people about crime is that the prisoners acknowledge their wrongdoings and they can share their experience in prison so the youngsters or so the teens can avoid following the same path. That's all you really need to change, okay? They are the best candidates to not really tell the disadvantages, but explain maybe the disadvantages of this. You don't mean commitment. You need a different word here. As well as how it may destroy the life of some of them. Who is them? Some of the prisoners? Again, it's not really clear. For instance, when you're committing a crime, the expression is there is no going back. This is incorrect. Also, I'd like you to avoid using contractions. They just sound a little informal, so try to avoid them. It sounds a lot better if you don't use them. So there is no going back. You are not only taking the soul of someone, but from yourself too. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Another example, all right, again, no comma. Another example is that you have marked all of your life with it, which can ruin your life really easily. Some of them admitted that if they would have the ability to change this in the particular moment, they would do it. All right, so here you've got a couple of problems. Like here, for example, this is supposed to be your example. And it's your example of why they are the best people to talk to youngsters. But that's not what you're expressing here. All you're saying is that you're taking the soul of someone, which I thought was a little strange. Like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about murder? Because you didn't say that, okay? Because when we talk about crime, we don't necessarily mean just violent crime. It could be many, many crimes. So you were kind of making an assumption here that you hadn't expressed, and that's something you don't want to do in IELTS. You don't want to make assumptions, and you don't want to assume that your reader knows what you're talking about. So you need to lay everything out really, really clearly. Let's see. Let's go back to this previous sentence and look at it. So they are the best candidates to tell the disadvantages of this behavior, as well as how it may destroy their life. For instance, when you are committing a murder, there is no going back. And I would have put a semicolon here. You are not only taking the soul of someone, but from yourself too. Now, again, this doesn't explain how this makes the criminal the best person. It really doesn't, okay? But even, let's say it did, you needed to go into a little more depth here, okay? Like maybe you could have made this relevant, maybe, but you absolutely would have needed to explore this idea a little more. But obviously you only have 40 minutes to write this, so I wouldn't have really gone down this path at all. So what did you tell us? You know what? Why don't we for a moment take away this sentence? Hold on. Let me try to highlight it. Okay, let's take away this sentence for a moment and see what you wrote before that. They are the best candidates to tell the disadvantages of this behavior, as well as how it may destroy their life. So what you want to do is you want to further develop this particular idea. What makes them the best candidates? What could they tell us? What could they show us? How would this be so effective for a teenager? So that's what you really need to be describing in this sentence, and not here, okay? Because this kind of felt like it was going off in a totally different direction. And as I was saying before, if you really did want to go in this direction, then you could have extended it further to make it make sense. You're not only taking the soul of someone, but from yourself too. And this can be very devastating for the psyche of the criminal. And they may need to spend years in therapy, for example, to overcome this. Talking to youngsters about their experience could lead them to understand that crime is something that stays with you for many, many years. Okay, so does that make sense? Do you understand how I extended it? Because you had this really kind of interesting example here. It was a strong example, but the way you wrote it, it felt like it didn't really fit. So you needed to do all that extension to make it fit. So those were your two choices. You either take this out and replace it something which is much more directly related to this, or you have to extend it similarly to what I just said. All right, and then this isn't really another example, because what you're not telling us is the fact that they ruined their life. Okay, well, how does this make them the best people to talk to youngsters? That's what you're not making clear to us. Okay, let's move on. Another significant reason, you don't need a comma here, is that children of a young age, you don't need they, because your subject is this expression here, children at a young age. So let's try that again. Another significant reason is that children at a young age would mostly believe those that have gone through something rather than their teachers or parents. In this period of time of the child, they would lots of random things. They would what? You're missing a verb here. Random things that they think would attract others. Maybe you mean they do. They do lots of random things that they think would attract others and make them seem cool. So if someone that had already been through it and done some unforgettable, not unforgetful, unforgettable things, then they would have a second thought. Then they would have second thoughts about their doings. Okay, again, because they would trust them. It's not really clear why they would trust them. So this needs, again, some more extension, some more development. You're assuming things and you're stating things, but it's not clear to your reader why. Okay, so whenever you assert something, okay, and you take it as a given, you need to explain why. You can't assume that your reader understands. So to sum up, convicts have more chances to prove that taking this dangerous path is wrong if children are not listening to not their supervisors, but to their elders, to their guardians. That would have been a better word, maybe. Let's see. Convicts have more, I would say here, more of a chance to prove. That would have been a better way to say this. And then again, no comma here. Another fact is that from their stories, they would appreciate their life more. Who is they and who is their life? I'm confused. And would not want to pass through the same difficult times like them. So what I'm finding here is, apart from the grammar that, I've explained to you is a little rough in some areas, and apart from the task achievement, which you haven't really extended a lot of this. You kind of state something, but then you don't really develop it. You don't, really pull it out to make it clear what you're talking about. The other big problem for me is your use of pronouns, they, them, their, all of this. It becomes rather confusing. So your reader doesn't know who you're talking about. Okay? So you really have to be careful about these things. It's an essay that needs some work. You didn't tell us in your email what score you need, but it is an essay that certainly needs some work. It needs a little help. So I really want to encourage you to take a look at the online course. I think that this type of support is really going to help you. It's going to teach you the type of template you need to keep your answer, to keep your essay on topic and well structured, with all the elements that a good essay needs. So please take a look at that. I really think you're going to find it extremely, extremely useful. Okay, so that's it for this essay correction. I wish you lots of luck. If you have any comments or any sort of answers to my queries, please go ahead and let me know in an email. And I want to wish you tons and tons of luck.